What is garbage? Garbage is the stuff that happens in our lives that we didn't bargain for, things we didn't plan for, things that are unexpected. Let me give you some examples of garbage. My boss can't make up her mind. I plan the travel, they change their mind 3 days later. I make it look easy, they figure I can fix it. You know, I got coworkers that just don't pull their weight around here. My company is merged, cut back, and as Diane said, they want more with less. I can't remember the last time I got a compliment from my boss. It seems that the only time I hear from my boss is when something has gone wrong. My boss is completely disorganized, and I could take over most of that work, but they won't delegate to me. I could really take a lot of stress off of their hands. And how do I balance work and family? How many of you can relate to even one of those things that I just said? That's a lot of hands up in this room. But I want to share something very special about that list. All of those same things came from the group that I spoke to just about 9 months ago in Amsterdam. And the thing that shocked me the most is we're all dealing with the same things. We may deal with them differently because our culture influences how we deal with it, but we've all got too much garbage. And what I think we need to do is I think we need to get an attitude. A thriver attitude. Because I think there's different ways of looking at the garbage that comes our way. We could have a resigner attitude. I'll just sit here in this garbage because there's nothing I can do. Some of you have a survivor attitude. Well, I got garbage, might as well clean up the garbage. But then there's a thriver attitude. A thriver takes survivor to the next level. And what a thriver says is, look at all this garbage. There's got to be something good I can do when I've got this much garbage. It's a matter of looking at things and saying, there's a way of turning this around. There's many things in this life that we can't control. In fact, the majority of things that are going to happen to you, you cannot control. We can only control two things: what we think and what we do. But sometimes we train ourselves to think a certain way and don't realize that we've trapped ourselves into difficult or negative thinking. We don't realize that we've created our own problem for ourselves. And so what we've got to do is take a look at that thinking that we have and do some things to turn that around. When I work with management teams, one of the things that I talk with them about is this garbage. Because what I find is garbage is not the normal parts of our job. We all have downsides of our job that we don't necessarily like. But I talk with managers and I tell managers that it's not about the money. That's not why we do our jobs. It's not about the money. See what you think about this. I think it's about the garbage meter. Because each time we get our paycheck, we look at our paycheck and we look at the meter, how much we got paid. And then we look at the invisible meter right next to it. And we ask ourselves this question: was it worth putting up with all this garbage to get this paycheck? Am I on target? Oh, absolutely. Now, I can't control the garbage that's coming your way. That's not something I can control. I control what we think and what we do. What I can help you out with is how you think about the garbage that happens. Do you think about it with a resigner attitude? Do you think about it with a survivor attitude? Do you think about it with a thriver attitude? And this is something that's going to fluctuate because life fluctuates. You know, people look at me and they say, motivational speaker, she must always respond in a positive way to things. Oh, yeah, I respond in a positive way. Let's go back to that speech in Amsterdam. This was a dream come true for me. I had set on my goal, someday I want to be invited to Europe to speak. I did not expect it to happen as early on in my career as it did. I was excited. I was nervous. I'd never been to Europe before. I was scared to death. I was afraid of not being able to communicate with people. I was afraid of all kinds of things and excited at the same time. And the day before I gave this great speech, I got an email from the person that I was dating at the time. And I thought it was my support email. You go, you get fired up, you're awesome, you're incredible, they're going to love you. That's not what it said. No, it said, now this is my version of what it said, just so you know. It said, it's been fun, but. Now, he actually used different words, but yeah, I got broken up with by email. Now, I did not look at the world that day and say, wow, it's okay. All I have to do is look deep down into my heart. I can find a way to overcome any obstacle. You have seen those speakers. Those people are on drugs. That is not a natural reaction to a stressful situation. It is completely unnatural. I did what any normal person would do. I bawled my eyes out and cried in the middle of the business center where I was reading the email. Not one of my most graceful moments. Young woman that was working in the business center came running over. Are you okay? Are you okay? And I blubbered out the story. My boyfriend just broke up with me by email. She said, that jerk. Isn't it nice to know some things are universal? Well, what am I going to do? I'm a couple thousand miles away from home. I don't have a girlfriend's shoulder I can go cry on or go have coffee with. I've got to figure out something I've got to do, and she noticed this right away. She says, you can't stay here and cry. You've got to go do something. I said, all right, give me something to do, because I can't even think straight right now. She said, do you remember the story of Anne Frank? I said, of course. Everybody reads that story. She goes, you can go to her house. It's walking distance. Not the most positive, uplifting story. But, I can forget about my problems. Have you ever noticed when somebody's problem is worse than yours that you kind of feel better? So she gave me instructions on how to find Anne Frank's house, and I got to be honest with you, I didn't make it. I never made it to her house. On the way there, I noticed a sign pointing the opposite direction. And the sign caught my attention because of what was written on it. I immediately started laughing. And you believe a street sign would make you laugh? It said this, National Torture Museum. Visions of sugar plums danced in my head. Just completely changed my perspective on things. And that's all that we need. Because, when stressful things happen, have you ever noticed how they're funny later? When at the time that it happens, it's not funny. We're not laughing. But then at the end of the day, we're sitting at the dinner table, we're trying to retell the story, but we're choking through tears because we're able to see that, I don't know, why did I get myself so stressed? It just really wasn't that big of a deal.